Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Jennifer Adams and I am with Germantown Youth Futures, which is a community volunteer-led nonprofit in the community of Germantown for 25 years and counting. Germantown Youth Futures exists to promote positive youth development, and at the heart of the program is the desire to ensure that our community's youth have the best possible activities, and growth and service in the community is just as important as growth in the classroom. We're a member of the Alliance for Wisconsin Youth, which is a coalition that helps prevent substance abuse and behavioral health concerns through the promotion of positive youth development. We are the Germantown Chamber of Commerce Organization of the Year for 2022. And we offer these parent chats as a free community seminar and invite area partners like our guests today to share information, help answer questions on topics impacting teens in our community. So we'd like to welcome today Elliott Lawrence, Washington County 4-H educator, and Ron Jakubisin, also a positive youth development educator for UW-Madison Division of Extension for Washington County, on our topics today. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to the team to present for you on our topics.
Well, good evening, everyone. As said in the introduction, thank you, Jen. Ron Jakubisin, Positive Youth Development Educator for UW Extension for Washington County. And tonight, the way it's going to work is we have part one and part two of what skills employers are looking for in teen employees. And I just clicked the button twice. Let's see if it doesn't react twice. Our learning objectives tonight are soft skills that employers are looking for both part-time jobs, you know, if your youth are looking for jobs this summer, but also for career as well. And in the second half, Elliott is going to cover the digital footprint, meaning how social media affects youth, how it affects you. Actually, we could walk away with a few tips, the negative side effects, and also how to create a social media presence that is positive and shows employers that you have a positive attitude and a positive background. So with that, let's get started. We talk about soft skills, and that's an interesting word. And as we're talking about youth looking for jobs, some of what I'm going to talk about probably is also going to talk about some hard skills as well. So as we explore this, we're going to explore behaviors, habits that are needed to be formed to apply for jobs, for interview jobs, for securing the job. So I want to look at that and emphasize a couple of things. One is the old ways of job searching are gone. And I'm a bit older than Elliott and Jen. But in the old days, you kind of walked into a place and you talked to somebody and you got a paper application and you kind of moved through it that way. And probably in the mid 90s or 2000s, things started to shift. Maybe you went into Kohl's or you went into Menards and there was a kiosk and they would point to, and say, oh, go ahead and get on that kiosk and fill out an application. But you still had eyes on, people had eyes on you and vice versa. And really now, searching online, applying online is really the way that people find jobs, youth find jobs as well. And it's gotten very sophisticated. And so there's other ways to look too. For example, seeking out hiring fairs. I know when you walk into Walmart or Quick Trip, or you go online for Quick Trip, they might say, oh, there's a hiring fair at the Quick Trip on Johnson and Main. But things have shifted. And with that, two things happen. One is youth need some skills that we can't really transfer to them. And then number two, we as parents need to also sort of like be flexible and can't get caught up too much in the, well, when I was a kid, this is how it worked. So, we have to sort of trust the process, and we can look at that process as well on how that works. So, like I said, we're going to talk about soft skills, but we're also going to talk about probably some hard skills in that as well. First of all, being organized. That is something that youth probably are pretty good at with school and with the way schools work and require emails to be used as communication hubs. But for youth to be organized about writing down where they have applied for a job, some places like McDonald's ask you to actually log in and create an account with a username, a password. As a matter of fact, McDonald's has you do that first, and then one of the 3 or 4 questions down, it says, give us a phone number where we can call you to start this process. So knowing those skills of keeping calendars, staying organized, using both phone calendar and paper calendar are really important. So Elliott works with 4-H a lot. I work with youth throughout Washington County as well. Both of us have been involved with applications for leadership awards for youth and different programming activities. And some of those kids, most of those kids state how they keep track of all the social meetings they go to, or the club meetings they're involved in, as well as school and sports and other activities, is they keep calendars. Some even keep numerous calendars. So maybe you have a youth who's like, I don't want to do a calendar. I don't like calendar. I don't like put the calendar in my bedroom. It's not cool. I don't like it. So maybe it's baby steps. Maybe a family calendar that has all major appointments where kids need rides from parents to back and forth. But getting youth involved in calendaring and writing down appointments can start off slow, but it really is going to be important with jobs down the road, especially if a youth is applying for multiple jobs, so they can keep track of where they've logged in, keep track of phone numbers and who might be calling them back. Another is email. So a lot of times now, again, email is the way to go, or phone numbers. Like I said, McDonald's actually asked for a phone number to help you through the process of applying online. But email should, for the most part, like I said, probably the hub of school communication. I know way back, again, 15 years ago, my kids had emails. They didn't really like using them. The school said it's coming where you're going to have to use it as the main hub for getting assignments. It was a transition. They had to learn that skill, but you know, those things are ingrained in people now. I was in a 4th grade class today, and this one of the teachers actually had everybody use their Chromebook, and the kids were answering questions on a Google form. I mean, that's 4th grade. So those skills are out there, and so they should be encouraged to do that. But being invited to an interview, online HR questions about maybe some background information, scheduling, all done through email or through phone. And follow-up is, for the most part, needed ASAP for a youth's perspective. He or she needs to be on top of that right away to be able to answer those things. So I know it's kind of a snarky comment in red, but we've had applications before where kids put down an email and then they don't show up for a training or for an interview through our programming. And then we call them and say, why didn't you answer your email? They go, oh, I really don't use that email. And it's really interesting how it just comes out. It sounds kind of funny, but they're like, I don't really use that email. Why'd you do that? Well, I had to put something down. So the other loop that we get caught up in is sometimes kids put their parents' email in, and then parents don't always check those emails. The second thing is, and Elliott and I were talking about this earlier, is that a youth putting down a parent's email for a job interview doesn't really put the responsibility on the youth. Now he's going, Mom, Dad, why didn't you let me know that that email came through? So try and, you know, look forward on this to make sure that the youth has the responsibility of keeping track of all of those items. So we kind of move into somebody has applied for a job online. And I will backtrack real quick because I started this process a few weeks ago and then I stopped because I went online to look at McDonald's. and they wanted me to actually create an account. And so I actually started to create an account because I wanted to see the process. And the first 10 things they asked me were, what kind of shift do I want to work? Can I work weekends? How many hours do I want to work? They asked me a lot of questions that I wasn't expecting to see. So youth need to really be prepared for some of these questions when they apply for a job. They need to talk with you just about their regular student life, right? They need to find out, keep in mind, when is baseball season? When is dance classes? When are we going on vacation? Those things, I know we can't always have those in stone, but they're going to be asked those questions when they apply online, like at Kohl's or McDonald's. And it's probably best not to wing it, because they're going to come back and ask you, and they're going to sort of hold you accountable. So phone etiquette, boy, this is a tough one, right? I mean, the little red box says it wasn't in my area code, so I let it go to voicemail. That was an answer that I was told on Saturday by a parent when I called them on my cell phone. So it happens to everybody where your phone rings and you're like, oh, it's probably just that car warranty guy again, talking to me about my 20-year-old car. But it is important for you to coach and to talk to youth about phone etiquette, because a conversational greeting is much different than a formal greeting. And if I know that my phone is now going to be ringing with perhaps somebody for a job, I have to shift gears. So instead of picking up the phone and just saying, what do you want, when the phone rings, I actually change for the couple weeks and go, hello, this is Ron, can I help you? And that sounds corny, but I think you need to script or practice a script with your youth when that phone rings. Also, I would encourage youth to take notes while on the call, because those calls can be, first of all, exciting. Somebody's calling you back, right, for a job, but at the same time, there's names that are being thrown out there. There's phone numbers being thrown out there. There's maybe dates and times and places where you're being asked to follow through with. Again, follow up ASAP. Not always the thing that people want to do, especially if you're nervous or nerve-wracked. So we can help our youth by preparing, walking through that a little bit, scripting it a little bit, and getting people used to it. Video interviewing is also something that I know for this job. I had a 25-minute interview. Elliott kind of had the same thing, I think. I had to do a little video interview as a screening process. That was for this job, which is a full-time job, of course, but we know that video interviewing works well. And some things that I would encourage youth to do is explore those websites. If they're applying online, a lot of times there's a lot of information that's being given to them. So I just, again, real quickly, randomly went on Quick Trip to apply for a job and looked at it. And it just gives you a brief description, which helps people understand, should I even apply for this job? It says, hey, we're seeking energetic, outgoing, positive people, make a difference in the communities we serve. That sounds really high level, not like I'm ringing up gas or candy bars. But we want great people skills, fast-paced work, ability to problem solve, right? So Kohl's, they want you to be able to adapt and learn technology, customer service, being able to activate Kohl's charges. They even want people to use an acronym called GREAT, which is greet, engage, request credit, explain savings, and ask to complete surveys, and thank you. So that's all great information. And I think when you're talking to youth about applying for a job, to make sure that job fits them. Back to the interview process on a video, you may look on one of those sites and it says, oh, we have a dress code. I'm not saying somebody should go on a video interview with the same dress code that they require at that store, but I think you can kind of get a vibe or feel of what people want and try to get the youth to not just have a video interview like in the bedroom with the bed behind you unmade and they're wearing their kitty cat punk rock t-shirt. So even though that's who they are, asking them to dress for the part of an interview doesn't take away from their personality or who their identity is. It's asking them to shift gears to get ready for a video interview. Also taking notes on the call, be aware of background and lighting. Those are like really, important things. So words matter, language matters. And again, I think asking people to maybe not use slang or cuss words. Sometimes that seems like a pretty common sense kind of thing, right? But I think we have to remind ourselves that. I do want to go back with emails real quickly and suggest one thing. And the suggestion is this, is that perhaps a youth could create another email account just for job interviews. So it's not being flooded with homework or spam or anything else. The other thing is that just having the name, Ron Jakubisin@gmail.com, it's good enough. I would be aware of fancy, really cool, super neat email addresses that could frighten people, like, rocket launcher killer clown.gmail. That maybe works for Fortnite, but that might not be what the employer wants to see as far as. So keeping a separate account really does help. I have 2 accounts only because things I buy online, I get a lot of spam mail based on catalogs, and it separates some of that stuff so I don't lose things that I want. So, is there any questions in the chat? I don't know. I'll just pause for a quick second. I do have a couple more slides, and I'm gonna turn it over, but I do want to talk about those soft skills and what they mean. And again, we're going to look at this slide and see some of these words they seem pretty general, and are they vague? But they are important. So according to monster.com, that's where people go and apply for jobs. And the Society for Human Resource Management did surveys with employers, and they're looking for these big soft skills, not big soft skills, but they're looking for soft skills, and you can see they're looking for in a big way. 97% said dependability and reliability. What does it really translate to? It really translates to a track record of being on time and being on the day that you're scheduled. That is super duper important. And I will tell you, the smaller the town you live in, the more important it is, because people talk from business to business. And when your youth worker decides to take a day off because it's really nice out, or he wants to go to Six Flags because his other friends are going, it seems very casual, like I'm going to call in and not show up to work today. I'm just going to call in, no big deal. But dependability and reliability is huge. I'll tell a quick story, and I don't want to share too much about family, but our oldest, when she was a teen, got a job at Home Depot. It was all fine and dandy, but she kind of slowly started to do that a little bit, where she was taking off for things, and she didn't see the impact of what her actions were causing, because she was on the register and making more money than she was as a person working on the shelves. And she had moved into the register, and she had called in sick a lot, and then they moved her off the register, and they gave her some jobs to do that were pretty menial. And she was insulted by that. But what she wasn't able to, the discussion that I had with her, that we had with her, was that supervisor is counting on having so many people at the register. When you call in sick, that supervisor now has to work hard off of maybe some tasks that they didn't want to do to fill that shift. And there's a domino effect at that. And so I think it slowly impacted Emily as the years went on. But initially it was very kind of me oriented. What's the big deal? She just call somebody else. But there was a ripple effect she wasn't aware of. Integrity, simply treating others with respect and fairness, both coworkers and customers. And I can tell you that I feel like most teen workers are more sensitive with with customers than they are with coworkers. So I've been in certain stores where maybe people are walking around stocking the shelf, and you hear them really complaining about their coworkers and about their job. And that's something that we really don't want to happen. We don't want those habits to form early, because they will just get worse and worse as it goes on. Respect, well, that makes sense. Diverse backgrounds, that seems to be a pretty common theme. But I put generational in there because nowadays, when you work at McDonald's, or you work at Home Depot, or you work at Menards, there's people of all generations that work there. And you may be trained on how to use an inventory machine really quickly, and you catch on because you're real tech savvy. But somebody maybe in their 50s, 60s, who wasn't born in the technology era, and they had to learn those things, a little bit different. So having that respect for different generations and coworkers of different talents is super important. And lastly, I think this is great, understanding and anticipating needs. And that means, can an employee assert themselves and say, can I help you? So just this weekend, putting grass seed down, putting out the little straw on the top of the grass seed, went to a popular store that has a bunch of outdoor stuff like that. Couldn't find my little bale of hay. They sent me out to the gardening section. Gardening said, you can look around, but I'm not sure if it's here. I think you might have to go to the yard, which is where you drive around. So it's called easy hay, which is kind of funny because they're easy straw, which it wasn't easy to find. And I ended up going to customer service. It was in the back, drove around. They said, go to door 13, went to door 13. There was a kid there with a broom. I said, I'm looking for the easy straw. And he just shrugged his shoulders and started sweeping. So finally somebody came, because I was sent to the wrong door on top of it. But it was really interesting. He just shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know. So I was kind of left on my own to look around. Was it a big deal? I don't know. It wasn't easy to find. So, but it was interesting that youth, that teen worker just really wasn't even interested in getting on the microphone to say, hey, I got somebody here who's looking for something. Teens for Hire, I'll give you a couple of resources real quick. You can look at this up on your own. There's a lot of information. These are the 8 top things that they feel are the soft skills that teens need. Well-groomed, I don't know if that's kind of feels like an old-fashioned term, but I guess good hygiene. Well-groomed could be very opinionated, right? Like I feel like maybe somebody who might have long hair, and it's in a ponytail, still doesn't maybe look good. I don't think it maybe looks good on a male. I don't know. I have opinions about things. I'm not saying that's the case, but what I'm saying is someone might actually go, that kid's not well groomed. They should have a nice haircut like I had when I was a teen. So the idea is good hygiene. You can see the rest of these, but you can see how they cross over, right? Willingness to learn, reliability, and self-motivation. Huge themes that come up with jobs. And then I think lastly here, I just want to bring up this resource because I think it's pretty cool. Actually, I have one more slide I want to go over, but this is actually a curriculum. It's called Soft Skills to Pay the Bills. And again, you see these common themes that come up. This is what I like about this. Maybe we could capture this link and put it in the chat, because what's cool about this website is they actually have little videos that are 3 minutes long that show things like good communication skills, organizational teamwork. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. They show a kid coming in for a job interview and he's just wearing a flannel shirt and a pair of shoes and jeans that are ripped across the knees, because that's how he looks every day. And he doesn't really change any of his attitudes. But there are cool little videos on there that could spark conversation with you and with your youth. And then lastly, I think parentally, I think it's kind of cool to, again, I kind of prefaced preparing and talking to youth. I'm going to click this one more time. Didn't seem to want to advance. Does anybody want to, Elliott, can you get that thing to click forward? I've clicked it twice. There we go. So I appreciate that. So again, before anything else, I would, when you finish your job application, I would actually sit down and create wow statements through different experiences. And what I mean by that is that youth, as well as adults, have a lot of transferable skills that we don't give ourselves credit for. And what I mean by that is come up with things that say, hey, I took a babysitting class that shows commitment, or I have skills in communication because I sit in when I go to church, I sit in the baby room, or I go to the child care center and I work for an hour. I took a CPR class, which shows responsibility and focus, right? It shows that I want to improve myself. Clubs like Youth Futures and 4-H show that you're a team player, right? They work on team projects. You can problem solve. So finding ways to take an experience that a youth has in his life and create it into a statement that can transfer into what somebody wants on the job site is, I think, something that youth should practice and prepare for, and actually be proud of those things. We're not trying to make things up here and BS people. We're saying, no, you have a lot of things that you do in your daily interaction with people that you should get credit for and can actually be applied on the job site. So that's my part of that. I'm going to turn it over to Elliott. And again, I know I see 7 things in the chat, so I don't know if
it's all me trying to get this link to work, Ron.
Oh, okay.
It is not.
There we go. I'm like,
it is not. I don't know what the problem is.
Actually, I'm relieved because 7 questions mean 7 people or 7. I didn't understand what you were talking about.
No, it's just literally, if you look, it's quite comical.
Or usually it's, oh, you're talking too fast.
I don't.
7 comments on slow down, Ron. You're going to explode, So Elliott, I'll turn over Elliott Lawrence. Elliott is my colleague at the Extension Office here in Washington County. And Elliott, you can tell them a little bit about yourself and take it away.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight, and thank you all of our virtual folks that will watch this at a later date. I am Elliott Lawrence, and I am the 4-H Youth Development Educator with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Extension here in Washington County. And as a proud millennial, I am getting the topic known as technology. I'm an elder millennial, though, if you know the terms, and so I am an old millennial. And so I did not grow up with technology like a lot of younger millennials and Gen Z did. This information I'll be presenting is going to become even more relevant and more prevalent, and kids will probably know this better than you as parents, which I'm assuming. I feel like I always feel like I'm old because I could have kids that are in high school. So some of you might be millennials out there as parents, and so we're going to talk about technology and how that can help and how that can hurt the job hunt, and not only the job hunt for the part-time jobs that your children might have in high school, in college, but also for the future jobs, the careers, as we'd like to call it, in the business. So the first thing I want to talk about is digital citizenship. And so digital citizenship is kind of like a map of what your life is, all of the digital components of your life, what your real life and your digital life, kind of combine those two together. Do we want to combine those two together, or do we want to keep them separate? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Sometimes it's not as easy to keep both of those things separate, especially now. It's just part of growing up is having this huge digital footprint in your life growing up. So sometimes you can't keep them separate. The line is a little blurry. 70% of employers use social media to screen candidates before even hiring. And so 70% of, and this came from psychologytoday.com. You can see the source down there at the very bottom. 70% of people go online prior to hiring the candidate, or prior to even maybe even giving them an interview, to look what they've been doing on social media. And so a lot of times as a parent, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, you're starting to sweat a little bit because you think to yourself, my child is never going to get hired anywhere if they're looking on social media. And 57% have found content that caused them not to hire a candidate. So 57%, over half of the people that look at different candidates' social media profiles, 57%, that's a large amount. 57% found something that caused them not to hire a candidate. 47% say that if they can't find the applicant online, they're less likely to contact them for an interview. This is crazy. This was something that when Ron and I when we were researching this presentation, this was something that both of us found and found it really interesting, because you think to yourself, oh, that's it, I'm just pulling everything. I'm gonna make everything private. I'm pulling everything. Well, 47%, that's under half. So it's not an enormous amount, but it's still a pretty significant amount. 47% say if they can't find them, then do they even exist, right? Is this person actually real? And so it's kind of like that pre-interview before your interview. So that's why it's hugely important to have your social life, your digital life, all in check. Ron just talked about a lot of the soft skills that you're going to see more outward facing in your real life. This is about the digital life, and you have to really get those two meshed well. So why didn't I get hired? So this was also from psychologytoday.com. 40% said provocative or inappropriate photos, videos, or information. 36% information's about them drinking or using drugs. 31% discriminatory comments related to age, gender, religion, etc. 30% linked to criminal behavior. 27% lied about their qualifications. 27% said poor communication skills. 25% badmouth their previous company or fellow coworker. 22% unprofessional screen name, and that also falls in the category of an unprofessional email, as Ron said, which I'll talk a little bit about later. 20% shared confidential information from previous employers, and this was good too. 12% said they're posted too frequently. So you're posting too frequently. That's what I always think it's funny when I see people my age and the middle of the afternoon, they're just posting. And I'm like, don't you have a job? Like, aren't you supposed to be doing a job right now? Shouldn't you be doing something else and posting on Facebook? So it's interesting that the reasons why that folks are not getting hired, and a lot of that stuff comes from social media. Now, like as you see these numbers, they're not huge. But I think the upward trend is, 10 years ago, none of these would have existed because you wouldn't know. You really wouldn't know. The employer wouldn't know unless you did it in the workplace. So this is just a new phenomenon that's happening. And it's something that's going to get even more before people start to realize that, hey, they're looking at stuff online. I do have a quick video. It's like 2 minutes. I'm going to show it, and I do have to say it's an Australian video. So first of all, there's Australian accents, which I think are phenomenal, but they are a little bit, you have to pay attention, a little bit more complicated to understand. And at the end, there's a few slang words that Australians use that Americans don't, that Americans might think of as a little inappropriate. That's not hugely inappropriate. Don't worry, we're all adults, so. Well. Might help if I actually click on it though. Well, maybe I'll get it to play. I won't. Not sure why it's not coming up, but you think after, you know, two plus years living on Zoom, we'd have this figured out. Well, I don't think it's coming up.
Video is the final exam for the Zoom test, but
Yeah.
if I could share the link to the video in the follow-up email after we wrap up, if it's not working.
That'd be a good idea. It usually loads. I have it embedded so it looks nice and everything, and of course it fails me. PowerPoint has failed me yet again. So it's a great video. Please watch it. It talks about a young kid that's the gist of the video is a young kid is working at a gas station, and he's recording everything he does, and so he's doing all this stupid stuff, and so he's recording it, and his manager at the gas station finds out about it, and he's like, hey, good video, but you are wearing your work shirt. We don't want, like, that's not our style. Like, that's not what we stand for. So just don't wear your shirt. And like, that was really mean what you did to the old lady. Like, that's not nice either. And I saw you drinking straight from the icy machine, straight from the Slurpee machine. You recorded that. That's really unhygienic. Like, we can't have you working here. And the kid gets fired. And it's all because of stuff that you know, he posted on his social media channel, and he made videos about it. So all of this bad stuff, I'm a positive guy. I try to do a positive spin. Let's keep it optimistic. How can we use social media as our benefit? This is here to stay. I can remember when social media first came out. I was in college, not to age myself. Well, technically it was when Facebook came out, I was in college. When MySpace came out, I was in probably middle school or high school. So I can remember when it came out, and it was just like, is it going to take off? Like, who knew it was going to explode at the level that it is now? And it really is. It's a huge part of ask anyone under the age of you know, 20, you know, 18, how much an effect that social media has on their life. And it's a big effect. They might not realize it, but it's huge. So on the positive side, there's a survey, once again, psychologytoday.com, that points out how your online reputation and social media presence can actually help you land a job. So 37% of the candidates' background information supported their professional qualifications. So sources like LinkedIn. Now, whether your kid that's in, you know, a sophomore in high school might not make a LinkedIn account to list their, you know, to list their job accolades working at Quick Trip, Walmart, and Dollar General, but as they get onto their professional career, LinkedIn is a very important place, and you have to make sure it's right. You can't just lie on LinkedIn. You have to make sure that it supports all of your professional qualifications. 34% said that they found out the candidate was creative by looking at social media. This is a good outlet for creative folks. This is why a lot of people are on social media. It's a creative outlet. Once again, getting back to MySpace, that was like the biggest thing of MySpace was, if anybody remembers MySpace, it was music videos, just people doing music videos, and everyone had a garage band, and everyone had their garage band on MySpace. But it's an awesome creative outlet. 33% candidates cite conveyed a professional image. So that's something that you might not think about. Maybe how can we create a professional image on our social media site? 31% candidates said was well-rounded, showed a wide variety of interests. 28% candidate had great communication skills. 26% candidate received awards and accolades. I'll get to that a little bit later. Actually, I think it's the next slide on how you can really show off those awards and accolades. 22% of the candidate had interacted with the company's social media platforms, the social media accounts. So if once again, this is a lot more beneficial for maybe that first career, but if your child is thinking about starting a job with the University of Wisconsin at Madison, then start following them on Instagram, start following them on Facebook, start following them on Twitter. And you get to learn about the organization, and you also you can start building good reputation in your online presence. So some more ways to help. Once again, email addresses. Your children most likely have them. I can remember the first email address I ever had. I will not tell you the name of the first email address I had because I created it in the 7th grade, and that's not what you should do. I've had many other email addresses since then, and the next ones I had were very professional. First, last name, and the year that I was born was my current Gmail address, and then I have once again, aging myself, I have a Hotmail address that is really old, and it is just first initial, last name, and my birthday. So I always needed a number because E. Lawrence is too common. So Elliott Lawrence is apparently too common too. But start a simple professional email address. The easier it is, the quicker you can do. And start this at hopefully maybe you already have this already, but to start this at any point in time. And then anything that use that as a professional email address. Don't use it as a personal one, and use it as a professional one. And use hashtags. This is extremely useful in the Twitter world and Instagram and Facebook. I think you can still use hashtags too. This is a good way to keep everything curated in one place. So if you use a hashtag, I wouldn't use a hashtag my sweetest baby boy, but if you use a hashtag, you know, Ron Jakubisin as a hashtag, or Ron Jakubisin freshman year, then every picture, every award that Ron gets his freshman year, you hashtag that. You're showing it off, first of all, and you're hashtagging it. And then if you want to, in the end of your child's high school career, and they're looking to write up, you know, award applications and scholarships and all that kind of stuff, then all you have to do is go and type in Ron Jakubisin freshman year, and all of everything that you ever posted about that, or everything your child has posted about that, is going to now be curated in one list where you can drag and drop into folders and save stuff. Online albums is another way that you can do this. Start creating them early, and every single accolade, award, milestone that your child has or makes gets documented in an album. It makes it way easier to organize applications later on in life. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use social media to your benefit. It's not just something that's going to potentially harm your child in getting a job. It's going to allow your child to really have an easier way of getting the job, and really have an upper hand of getting that job potentially. So this big long quote that the researchers, and this is actually from HBR.org, and what that stands for is blanking on me right now. But the researchers suggest that job seekers cleaned up their social media pages, including problematic content that others may have posted, and tighten their privacy settings. Companies and researchers should also explore alternative ways of using social media in the hiring process. For instance, in recent studies have found that machine learning applications might be able to determine certain personality traits from social media profiles, and information that could prove useful in managing people once they have come on board. So that's pretty crazy. Whether or not you agree with that or don't agree with that, it could be happening. Where pretty much what this is saying is that companies are using software to be able to track their employees and be able to filter out any sort of negative things that are happening. And so it's kind of scary. So you really do have to check your social media privacy settings, and you know, as your kids get older and start managing these companies, it's hopefully they're not doing some real invasive things. But it could happen in the future. It's already happening. So you really have to find out what they're having on their pages, make sure that it doesn't determine whether or not they're going to get a job. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Jennifer. Harvard Business Review is HBR. I knew it was something very important. Yeah, so social media is here. It's here to stay. You could use it to get to provide help for your children in getting a job. And you can also make sure that they're not doing anything too ridiculous that's going to hinder them from getting a job. With that, the resources are listed here. And I'm going to send it back to Jennifer. And if we
maybe
have
could I just jump in real quick, Elliot? I just wanted to drive home a point, etc. A point that you had made about social media, because I think it can even just be about attitude, right? I mean, let's say you just not complaining about your day shifts the attitude that is presented. If you look at multiple entries on a Facebook page or on an Instagram, or are we being complimentary? You know what I mean? Like, today I went out for a walk and, I got to see my great neighbors and we said hi. It was great to see them. So I know that's corny. I'm not saying this is what everybody should be doing, but what I'm getting at is, shifting and presenting an attitude and looking at the positive things, in life. Again, Elliott brings up the idea that social media is creative. Instagram, I find to be super creative, where I'm just taking pictures of trees or kind of like my dog or cool things. And it just has a statement about, like, their happiness, or like, it was quiet in the woods today and here's what I saw. And so it's artistic for me, but it also, there's a statement that is just calming. So, and to go really far back, again, exploring jobs with your kids online and looking at some of the policies that exist in the application process, as well as when they get hired. The reason I bring that up is because Elliott brought home a point about the video, as well as other people complaining about their job online. And so I worked at Six Flags Great America in Illinois, and it was policy that you did not complain about your day at the park. You didn't say, oh, the guests were really rude today, it was 90 degrees and they were all jerks. You could actually be, if you were monitored, or if they saw that, you could be pulled into the office and be talked to, or actually let go. So a lot of places, especially fast food places, have a lot of policies on, if you had a bad day, that's your issue. It's not a social issue. And so those are, unfortunately, the learning curve might be really, really super tight, where someone doesn't realize that they're, oh, I didn't think it was a big deal to complain about my day. Everybody complains. But that policy shortens up that learning curve, and a person may not have a second chance. So that's something to check out and to explore, even like things like attendance. What are the policies on attendance? Is there some sort of punitive threshold? Like, if you're late so many times, then this is what happens. If you're late so many times, this is what happens. If you call in sick, this is what happens. Again, I know at some places that are seasonal, maybe all of a sudden you're not working 20 hours a week over the summer. Now you're working 5 hours a week. And a child might complain and go, they're treating me unfairly, when really it might be part of the policy of, well, you're unreliable, so therefore I have to go to my most reliable people. So always look at those policies, explore those, have a discussion with your youth about the meaning behind those and the importance of those. Because again, as I said before, if you're working in a small town and somebody decides, like my Emily got a job at Dairy Queen, thought it was the greatest thing in the world. She got ice cream every day. But she complained that she had to wipe the doors down every hour and they had to wash the bathrooms out like every 2 hours. That became a real issue for her because she was more about the ice cream and making kids happy by making sundaes and giving out dilly bars. And all of a sudden, within 2 weeks, she was done with that job. And then she went to the next place down the road, and sort of the same thing happened. So at one point, those store owners kind of talked to each other, and so she kind of had a little bit of a kind of a desert kind of a period in the summer where nobody wanted to hire her because, you know, those couple of moments all added up to a reputation. So anyhow, I appreciate people's times. Thanks for letting me jump in and add a couple of those things. And if anybody has any questions or comments, we'd love to hear them. Again, there are some of those resources in our last slide that people can explore some of those topics, and especially communicate and explore with your child.
No, thanks, Ron. I don't see any questions in the chat, but feel free to drop in the chat or use the raise hand function and we can address your questions. The one comment I was also going to make too is when you're using activities from, you know, your sports, volunteering, even fundraising for different school groups, anything that you can capture or encourage your team to capture that's measurable. I fundraised X number of dollars over this many years, or I watched X number of children this summer, or supervised this many at this daycare, or volunteered this many of hours. It's not only great for jobs, but also for scholarship applications. And I know with my experience with Youth Futures when I was in high school as well, that was one thing, project management of organizing the lock-in and also the volunteer hours that helped with applications for college and scholarships and jobs in the future as well. So it doesn't have to be an official job, even if your teen is looking for some volunteer, like more involved volunteerism, or 4-H, or you know, or anything that really aligns with their goals as well.
Yeah, and getting you know, those getting those endorsements from adults at those places, right? Letters of recommendation, and also networking. And again, I'm going to go back to that reliability. If it's a seasonal job and you say, I can walk to work till August 15th because I have to start football. You finish up on August 15th, that person remembers that you were a person of your word. So next year, when it comes time to hire seasonals again, they know that you're reliable. So there's that sense of also networking, which is super important. That does lead to things like scholarship recommendations, you know, and keeping those networking connections open.
Yeah, letters of reference and references to call are definitely important, and people that are not related to you or that are not coworkers and current coworkers, there's sometimes some conflict of interest. So having a network to reach out to for applications, it is increasingly important. And I know that they do call those references too, because I do follow up, or the people that I use personally follow up and let me know when people have reached out and what they asked. So it's still a common practice. Was there anything else that you had? I see we're almost at time here. I did drop the survey link in the chat here. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us this evening. We have a survey. It's just what's something that you learned or other topics that you'd like to suggest in the future, or any other feedback that you have for our presenters. But I definitely wanted to thank Ron and Elliott for sharing their expertise and joining us today and presenting. Again, once the recording is available, I can send out the link, and that can be shared and used as a resource, or you can view excerpts from that presentation. As far as Youth Futures in the community, you can expect to see us again in the 4th of July parade, collecting food donations for the area food pantry this year. And we'll have tables at A Taste of Germantown in July, and Neighbors Against Crime Night in August, as well as I believe it's our 16th year now, if my math is correct, Disc Golf Extravaganza on August 16th. But it's a great family event that just kind of teaches people how to play the game, and we have all the equipment if you are not familiar, and happy to see everyone there.
I did find the video real quick. I posted that in the chat box as well. I put the link in the chat box.
Great. Thank you. I see that there, and I can also include that when we send out the follow-up email with all those links for you and any materials that the presenters have to send as well. So I don't see. Oh, thank you to the presenters also for some of the guests tonight too. And if there's nothing else, also feel free. I had sent out the messages. You can respond to that email address and I can answer any questions through there as well. But thank you again, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, everybody.